Episode 291 of the TV Dudes, recorded July 15th, 2020. The Halfway Point. It's a very special TV Dudes episode this week. We are a little over halfway through 2020. We've hit our 100th show watch this year, which means updated power rankings. But instead of power rankings this week, we are going to give you a top 10 of 2020 so far for each TV Dude. We're going to compare our individual top 10s to where they land in the power rankings. There are some surprises in there. But the 100th show that got us over the hump, that the show that has achieved the perfect 0000 on the power rankings, that show is Marble League 2020 on YouTube. We're going to talk about that. We're going to do our last Quibi Qorner. But before we get to all that, I'm Randy.
I'm Kyle.
I'm Les.
And we're the TV Dudes. So guys, we've been doing this little Quibi Qorner thing. I think it was Les who dragged us into this morass of phone videos designed by Jeffrey Katzenberg and who's the Whitman?
Meg Whitman.
And so the trial has come to an end. I think Kyle's already shut his down. Mine needs to be canceled in a couple of days. I'm probably canceled tonight after I finish this show. Les, is your Quibi shut down, or is it still Quibi active?
I think it is shut down, but I realized today that I have not opened it to confirm that in a while.
They got you. But
I believe, no, the way I handle free trials is to cancel them the day of because they just burn out there.
Yeah, that's a good call. So I watched one last thing, and that was Home Movies Princess Bride, it was all filmed in COVID times, so it's filmed by celebrities like on their phones and stuff. And basically what it is a more or less shot for shot of Princess Bride done by people in their, like, whatever they could put together from their homes. And it's a variety of celebrities, and it is an impressive variety of celebrities. So basically they do, like, these somewhere between 6 and 8 minute episodes. They go through the whole movie, and they keep changing the roles. So on the right side of the screen, you've got a picture of that keeps changing of what the scene is, and it says who the original actor was, and then it says who the actor is who's playing that role now. And guys, this was legitimately one of my favorite things I've watched this year. Like, it could wind up on my top 10 for the year. It was so much fun.
Oh, wow.
It is, I love The Princess Bride. The person I was watching stuff with that night, she was not in the mood to watch anything new, and I was not in the mood to, like, comfort watch something old. So this was perfect because it was something new, but it was also something comforting and familiar. And basically, it's just like they go through and you've got, for example, Lieutenant Dangle, with his
Tom Lennon,
with his I believe is his daughter. He is playing Prince Humperdinck, and in his Reno 911 uniform, complete with sunglasses, while his daughter follows along, and they've got little hobby horses they're doing to gallop, and they do the scenes and the dialogue, and they have interactions between people who aren't in the same room. One person filmed one side, one person filmed the other, with, like, their husband standing in was like the backdrop. You see the back of their head, and they do this throughout. Then there's, like, they did one where Brandon Routh and his boyfriend or his husband, they are doing the scene with Wesley and Buttercup where they I think they've just, like, gone to the fire swamp, and it starts off. And Routh is playing Wesley with, like, the black mask, and his husband is playing Buttercup with the blonde wig. Halfway through, they swap places, and Routh is now Buttercup, and his husband is playing, and they get various people to play the grandpa, and it was, oh man, guys, it was so good and so funny, and some of the choices they made for who did it, like, honestly, this is the entire reason to have Quibi for. Like, if you had told me this was on Quibi, I would get it just for this. And the last thing, the As You Wish, the grandpa saying goodbye to his son, is Rob Reiner as the son and Carl Reiner as the grandpa. and I about lost it, guys. My heart hurt so bad. It was so moving. Yeah, it was perfect. It was as good as watching The Princess Bride the first time. I was just delighted by it. Like, I cannot express how much I loved this. I loved it almost as much as I hate Quibi.
That's the saddest thing about Quibi is that when you do find something good on there, like I think of Alba versus Block, which is just kind of like a random find where I like really dug the show. Mm-hmm. I'm like, I would give anything to have this on any other service. Like, it sucks that there's something really good like Reno 911, but it's on here.
Yeah. So I found a little piece about it. This was an excerpt from an interview on Quibi, and I read this to you guys ahead of time. But we've got to talk about this. So we've talked about the bizarre business model of Quibi, and we're like they got like half of it right, and we can't figure out exactly like who was this for and what was the plan. So this is Jeffrey Katzenberg from DreamWorks and prior Disney, I think, and Meg Whitman, who I don't remember who she's from.
IBM, I believe.
Oh, okay.
Or HP, one of those two.
So they are in their late and early 60s and not very active on social media. And for some reason, they thought they had a uniquely penetrating insight into the unacknowledged desires of young people. So this interviewer asked Whitman about what TV shows she watches, and she said, "I'm not sure I'd classify myself as an entertainment enthusiast. But any particular show she likes? Grant, she offered, on the History Channel. It's about President Grant." The other half of the equation, Katzenberg is on his phone all the time. Also among the moguls of his generation have their emails printed out and vertically folded by the assistant. In enthusing about what a show could mean for Quibi, he keeps going the same touchstones. America's Funniest Home Videos, Siskel and Ebert, and Jane Fonda's exercise tapes. When Gal Gadot came down to the office and delivered an impassioned speech about wanting to elevate the voice of girls and women, Katzenberg wondered aloud whether she might become the new Jane Fonda and do a workout series for Quibi. Apparently, her face fell, says a person briefed on the meeting.
You broke Wonder Woman's heart, you sick fuck. Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. Yeah. So, I wonder is that why, like, celebs get into Harvard and shit? Because, like, the other students at Harvard don't watch TV or own TV. They're those people?
Yeah.
Because, like, that's Meg Whitman went to Harvard Business School. Like, maybe that's... Like, you can be sitting next to Natalie Portman and be like, "Hey, what's up?"
Yeah, no idea. Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Is your family somebody?
I also feel like it's a measure of emotional intelligence to kind of pick up the context of TV show. Like, you don't have to watch Tiger King to know when somebody's talking about like a Tiger King thing.
Right.
So if you don't pick up on that, you have to wonder, do you talk to people? Do you know what we're talking about when we're around you?
Like, here's the thing. Also, like, how hard is it if you're in this business when someone says, "What's your favorite? What TV shows do you watch?" to say, "Oh, I like This Is Us," and like they're not going to follow up with you. Just mention shows that you've heard of.
I think what it shows, and this is why she should not have gotten into this business, or neither of them should have gotten into this business, is to have that level of a business degree and training, that the level of contempt you have for television would prevent you from doing research into the industry that you are waiting.
Yeah.
If it were shoes, Meg Whitman would go and learn every fucking thing about shoes. I bet she didn't know shit about a Hewlett-Packard before running Hewlett-Packard, and I bet she learned something about Hewlett-Packards. But she didn't go, "I don't use computers, paper and pen, that's me." Like, but she wades into TV with, like, I don't know, it's kind of gross. I watch the History Channel. Like,
yeah,
the level of contempt that you have to have for television to ignore your business background and be like, "You know what, I'm going to show you fuckwits."
And contempt for the audience too, just like these rancid monkeys watch television. How much?
You know what dipshits like?
Yeah,
phones and TV.
Yes, exactly.
You know, what are the plebes? I feel like they were in a smoke-filled club, and one of them, like Meg or Jeffrey, went, "What are the plebes like?"
No, they just looked around at everybody and they said, these youngsters seem to be staring at their phones quite a bit.
What do you think they're watching
money
on
off that?
Yeah, how can we
Probably
monetize
America's Home Videos or Jane Fonda?
How can we monetize their
Jane Fonda
their TV?
could do it.
Yeah, how can we monetize their phone addiction? Yeah, it's exactly what it is. Yeah.
I want to make the Jane Fonda video, but for phones. That's some DreamWorks big dreams right there.
Anyway, I've been predicting the end of Quibi for a while. I don't think it makes it out of 2020.
We may have turned the Quibi Qorner.
So farewell to Quibi Qorner. It was a fun experiment.
Farewell to Quibi Qorner just sounds like the saddest fucking album ever.
Before we start putting dirt on the casket, can I ask you guys one last question?
Yes.
Did you ever mention that you were watching Quibi in conversation and have people laugh at you over the past 6 months?
No.
So that's two questions. I never mentioned I was watching Quibi in conversation to anyone outside of this admittedly internet open room.
I was bullied for watching Quibi.
And rightfully so, let's be honest.
That's how you learn.
If we'd still been out in the world, someone might have caught me like watching TV on my phone, but I don't it didn't happen because of pandemic. So they blamed the pandemic for why Quibi failed, Katzenberg did, and I'm thinking maybe they missed the silver lining of this, is that we could all try Quibi out in the secrecy of our own homes and not get shamed for it.
Also, the silver lining for them is...
How about you... sorry. I was just going to say... No.
When the silver lining is when it fails, and it's gonna fail, they can blame the pandemic instead of their own awful lack of business sense.
Oh, and that's what I was gonna say. Why not try pivoting your business? You have all this great content. Just start the millionth other streaming service and rough it out until you figure out how this format's going to work. Yeah,
we need to start an episode, maybe a Patreon episode, where we just randomly name streaming services. We're just going to name them. We're going to throw out names, and they can give us $5 and get those rights forever.
Like occasionally when John Oliver just names a bunch of corporations, but and 3 of those are fake. You don't know which ones.
All right. Just a reminder, folks, that you can support us by going over to patreon.com/tvdudes. Throw us a buck an episode. In exchange, we get to keep up with our streaming services, pay for our hosting costs, and you get bonus content each week. Right now, we are making our way through the Fast and Furious franchise. I'm very excited because this week we're going to be talking Furious 7, which is maybe my favorite of the bunch. And I've been delightedly getting texts from Les all day as he watches it.
I'm only halfway through, and don't spoil this for me, I am pretty sure that Shaw is actually Khan.
No, I asked J.J. Abrams, and he said no, it's not. He's not.
Well, there you go. That's the answer. Then.
Yeah. We have a showrunner level. You can pay $20 and get a couple shows on our docket. And my friend Mandy Kokot has done that level. So Kill la Kill, the anime, is on the docket coming up in the next couple of weeks. All right.
Anime, fun.
One of 2 animes, because that's what she's doing.
I mean, heck, if we're going to watch Quibi, why not watch this, right?
All right, you guys know what time it is. You've been listening to this show. You know it's time for the power ranking. Except that it's not.
Psych!
What?
So
you're not playing that awesome alert tone, or what? What is that? Like the sound effect?
Oh no,
which I totally know now.
We're definitely going to play that music.
Oh man, yeah.
Okay.
But so yeah, we've been talking about this, that we were going to be coming up on 100 shows on the Power Rankings, which means, by the way, that we've watched 100 shows this year, which is a lot of TV.
Insane.
And we were kind of thinking, like, what's the 100th show going to be? And it kind of worked out perfectly as we were doing the math, that the 100th show was going to be Marble League, a show that's not even on television. It's on YouTube. And so that became our 100th show. And we decided that since we had 100 shows this week, we were actually going to talk about what our individual top 10 of the year was out of those 100 shows, and compare that listing to what the internet power rankings are. And I think what you'll find is either we're stupid or the internet is.
I think the internet's wrong.
I agree.
I believe the internet is also wrong.
What
were we talking about?
I know the internet is... people are often wrong on the internet.
Man was never meant to aggregate his opinion in such ways. This algorithm is a thing of the devil.
So we each put together our top 10s. There's a little bit of crossover there, although I'm honestly not 100% sure any of us have the same show on. Like, I don't know if... Oh, there's at least one that we all 3 have. And we'll talk about that as we go through. But
it's all kind of in the same spot, too, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah, that is interesting. So we're gonna count down from the top 10s. We're gonna give our sort of thoughts on it, and we're gonna tell you where it ranks in the power rankings. And it's this is sort of a halfway point top 10 of the year. Like if you've been listening for a while, or if you're just now listening, and you're like, I'm on quarantine. What show should I watch? Well, this is gonna give you a good, I don't know, 15 to 25 shows that are like the cream of the TV crop of 2020. And we also,
good way of putting it,
because we're all cheaters. Especially Les and Kyle, who started this. There are a couple honorable mentions, so it's kind of a top 12 for all of us.
I wouldn't say I'm so much cheating as I have a long-standing and often ranted dislike for lists, or ranked lists. And Randy is my counterpoint on this. I love
lists.
Who loves ranked lists. And I find this like infuriatingly impossible. Everything's like a subset of 2 or 3.
Yes, this week was delightful for me and a hell for Les.
I finally just sat down and was like, we're just going to look through the list as fast as possible and write down anything that makes, like, sparks joy.
If it doesn't spark joy, throw it away.
There was an astonishing number of shows on that top 100 list that didn't make my soul move at all.
Yeah, there's definitely a few of those.
Where I just looked right past them and went, that is a thing I watched. And it was not they're not shit shows. Like, these aren't terrible shows or anything, but I was just like, if that was on, it's really good. If somebody told me they were into something like that, like, fuck yeah, that's really good.
Yep.
But it didn't, like, holy shit.
Yeah, I remember this.
Cancel everything.
Yeah.
I mean, everything's canceled.
I gotta say, looking at the list, it does make, and maybe this is just the nature of being a TV dude, living life on the fringe like we do, but I feel like, a decade ago, I was watching so much more syndicated television, like stuff on the rerun, even like HBO. I feel like a lot of that Sunday night stuff, I would watch, throughout the week, just have it on in the background, while I was doing other stuff. And kind of the TV habits have changed to where, no, we're just always have something new to watch. Yeah. We don't really ever have a reason or time to go back and watch something else. Unless we're just fatigued and it's like, I can't handle something I haven't seen before.
Yeah, this year I've been doing a little bit more of the, like, right now I'm doing a Parks and Rec rewatch. I went back and watched The Good Fight, which is not technically new. So I've found a little more time. But yeah, in general, it's like there's still plenty of stuff coming out, trying to keep up with. Also, I'm going to do our analysis as we do this of, like, which networks we got in here. If there's any networks that shine. As I look, it's a pretty broad spectrum, actually, of what we've got.
Yeah.
So let's start out with our top 10 picks, and let's go. Kyle, what is your number 10?
Number 10 is over there on, I guess, the DC app. No, it's technically HBO Now.
No,
it's Harley Quinn.
It hasn't officially moved. It's still a DC app show.
It's one of the few things still in the DC app, I believe.
Yeah, Harley Quinn season 2. And kind of season 1, because this is my first introduction to this show. Not only did this kind of catch me off guard with how funny and how engaging it was, but it really ignited a curiosity for like a lot of animation I haven't watched in a while, like Batman the Animated Series.
Oh, yeah.
Which kind of sent me down that rabbit hole. And I've been catching up on a lot of the DC animated films that have come out in the last 10 years.
How are you how are you feeling on those? I usually am pretty disappointed by those.
I still have yet to see the Hush one, which I always really liked the Hush comic book. I know people have kind of loved a dog on that, but I've seen the trailers for it, and I don't know. I think I'm a little lukewarm on these new animated films. I really like, what is it, like Batman Ninja? Or no, Batman Anime. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I remember that.
I really dug that, like the kind of more experimental type stuff. And Under the Red Hood was pretty good. I thought
that's one of the better ones, I think. Yeah. So Harley Quinn ranks number 18 on the power ranking. So not super far off from a number 10. I mean, it's in the top 20 instead of the top 10, but that's pretty close as starters go.
Yeah. I won't harp on it.
Les, what's your number 10 pick?
My number 10 was Zoe's Extraordinary Playlist, which surprised me, and it's still a show that I didn't... It fell in a weird space for me. It is not a show that I I kept letting it pile up and then binging through 2 or 3 episodes at a time.
Right.
It wasn't something that I like, oh my God, is it whatever night Zoe's comes on?
Right.
But it was consistently a show that literally brought a tear to my eye.
Yeah.
Like every episode I'd go, oh, so it's like that, huh? Sons of bitches. And I mean, and then the next episode I'd be like, you sappy motherfuckers. And it is cheesy and it is sappy and it worked. One of the odd things this year, and this is really a lot of the pandemic and just generalized anxiety and whatnot that's going on, but my taste in what I can sit down and watch and what I want, like what worlds I want to get into, have very much changed. Yeah. And Zoe's was a show that I found myself not always thinking as like I didn't want to run out and tell everybody, oh my God, this is the new prestige thing to knock HBO off their high perch or whatever. But it was a show that I found myself every week going, yeah, there's other maybe better TV, but God, I'm glad that show's there.
Yeah, I had some similar feelings, and I actually have a friend who that was like he didn't watch a ton of TV, but Zoe's became like a weekly watch because something about its particular brand of emotional resonance worked for the anxiety of pandemic times, and I greatly enjoyed it. Zoe's unfortunately sits at number 50 in our list.
That's kind of low.
People have broken glass in their soul.
Not as low as some of our higher shows.
So my number 10 is The Politician over on Netflix, which I love this show.
Oh man, it's so good.
I love season 1, and then season 2 I thought stepped up its game, was even better. The New York council race, him running up against Judith Light and Bette Midler, who was just a delight in this. It's like scheming politics and stuff. It's bigger than life Ryan Murphy type stuff. I just really loved this show, and it is weirdly it's not aspirational. Speaking of things in this time that you kind of want aspirational, like, oh, we could be better. This is like no politics is sleazy.
Yeah, pretty much as bad as you think.
Yeah, and yet it was also joyful. Like I really liked the characters, even with all of them scheming for power. Like I wanted them all to win somehow, even though that wasn't possible. And it's very funny. So this show is our lowest ranked show so far. It ranks number 68 on the list. I believe we discovered like Rotten Tomatoes was not a fan or something like that. My number 9 pick is actually on Les's honorable mention and brings up a discussion of going forward how we can enjoy these shows. But it's a Hulu show. It is ranked number 14 on the Power Rankings, so pretty solidly liked on the internet. And that show is Brooklyn Nine-Nine. This show it's one of the most casually diverse shows on television. It's smart, it's progressive, it's funny as hell, it's got an amazing cast, and it's about cops.
Yep. So even as they've tried to deal with things like having Terry Crews' character get profiled, or Holtz being black and gay and that preventing his promotion, and that's a huge part of his background, or having worked against him in promoting, it's still about cops. And every time I keep going back to watch it, I can't watch Super Troopers really right now either. Mm-hmm. It's not like I'm trying to sit down and watch Law and Order or something that's just saint cop worshipping.
Right.
But there's something that I'm not able to sit with about loving Brooklyn Nine-Nine as it tries to ignore this elephant in the room. That's not what the show's about.
No, not at all.
But you can't be about cops anymore and not be about that.
And that's the thing I'm curious. I'm curious about, because it ended before all of the stuff really came down. Like, not that cops haven't been a problem before, but it's really been highlighted this year. And so I'm curious about whether I can go back to it. There's been some jokes. People have been tweeting at the cast, who are all, of course, like, totally Black Lives Matter, good people. And they're like, someone tweeted, there's like, hey, maybe you guys could work at a shoe store. They're like, just take the entire thing and move it somewhere else.
Yeah, because that's the benefit of... I'm sorry, Kyle, you were probably about to say. Go ahead.
Oh, no, there's actually been some news about this because Andy Samberg's doing press for Palm Springs right now.
Yeah.
So I don't know if he not leaked it, but there's been an announcement. They've pretty much taken all the work they've done for the next season. They've scrapped it. They've gone on indefinite hiatus, and whatever they're going to do next, it has to be completely different post Black Lives Matter.
Mm-hmm.
So like they're very aware of like, oh no, times have changed, and none of us are comfortable making a cop show right now.
Yeah. Because I'm not mad at it for what it was.
It's really a shame, too, because, like you guys are saying, the show was something completely different.
Mm-hmm.
But, things have changed.
Yeah. It was not the show's job to be some huge thing to break all this down. But I'm not mad at Brooklyn Nine-Nine for not having been dealing with Black Lives Matter or police brutality every week.
Right.
But the line moved over them.
Yeah.
In their space of their hiatus, unfortunately. Like if they were to come back now, they come back into a world where you can't be a cop talking to me and us not be talking about this.
So I have a pitch for you guys, because it's Mike Schur and Dan Gore.
But they could be anywhere. They could be in any sitcom setup.
They come back.
Let's go.
They come back. There's a bomb threat against the precinct. The precinct blows up, and they're in the good place. It's Brooklyn Nine-Nine, Good Place 2.
And it's just those characters, but they have to do a season of Good Place.
Well, and now they've got all the rules established about how you make it through.
Yep. I'm just saying, there's your season.
Yep. I just want to watch Hitchcock and Scully get through it.
And then at the end of the season, they go back to Earth and are reincarnated as things other than cops. That's my pitch. Mike Schur, call me. All right.
Yeah.
Les, what is your number 9 show?
So my number 9, I went back and forth on Politician or this show, and I ended up picking Hollywood because Politician had 2 great seasons. Hollywood is one. They're both very Ryan Murphy-ish, very Murphy-y. But Hollywood is very aspirational, and it is it gets that good fight revisionist, like not revisionist history, but like Wild West Wing, fuck it, what if smart people won kind of thing.
Yeah.
Which I loved seeing, and even though it doesn't make sense and is problematic historically and whatever, it was aspirationally fun and I wanted to watch it. And Samara Weaving.
Oh man.
Even though she's a bit part in Hollywood, I'm just on a tear. She's had a great run of 2 years of fantastic movies, and everybody should find out who Samara Weaving is and go watch Samara Weaving movies.
Agreed. And that show sits at number 70 on our list. It's not the lowest ranked show, which is one of mine, but it is a lower ranked show.
Your show is comically low.
Yeah, my show is it's quite the change. Kyle, you're number 9, which is also on Les's list at a little higher ranking.
Yes.
And number 30 on the internet's list, that's The Great over on Hulu, which is everything I love from shows like Downton Abbey and The Crown, but given this sensibility that I find hilarious and intriguing too. They told some really emotional stories. Yeah, Les has it a little higher on his list.
Yeah, it's at number 7 on mine. This is such a good show.
Yeah, it is just, it's so different than everything else. I'm so bummed I missed Le Favorite. I even, is that what it's called? Le Favorite or The Favorite?
The Favorite, yeah.
Yeah.
Which I want to see.
Yeah, that thing looked so fun in the trailers, and then as soon as I saw this, I was like, oh yeah, I'm late to the party. But yeah, no, there was just tons of great TV, and that's up there with it. That puts us on our number 8 spot, right, guys?
It does. What's your number 8?
Oh my gosh. I think this is the most underrated, and I don't mean rated like our literal ratings, because that's just batshit craziness. But I mean just in terms of like when people talk about TV, this show got the shaft so bad, and that is Miracle Workers Anthology, Dark Ages.
It's over on TBS.
Over on TBS, and essentially got the shaft because it was the other Good Place show that had Daniel Radcliffe in it.
Yeah.
And it was also the TBS one where it's like, oh no, I'm not going to watch the TBS
That's
one.
the biggest problem, honestly. It's on TBS.
But yeah, they essentially pivoted from that first season. Katzenberg, that's what you do when something doesn't work, you pivot. And they created this fantastic fish out of water story where they essentially set up the main characters as, major points or major people in this medieval village, where essentially they're the only two people with modern sensibilities who know it's like wrong to steal or like screw your neighbor's wife. But they live in medieval times where nobody's figured that stuff out yet, and everybody just runs around like dumbasses. And the humor they get out of this, it's fantastic. And they also get some really sincere moments with their two leads, who I didn't look up all of my actors' names today. Too many shows. But I love everybody on this. Oh, yeah, and Steve Buscemi, who... It's funny because I feel like you either get like Adam Sandler, Steve Buscemi, or you get like Boardwalk Empire, Steve Buscemi.
Yeah.
Like Tarantino Buscemi. This one is actually kind of in the middle. Actually, no, he's probably more towards the Sandler side.
He's definitely towards the Sandler side, yeah.
In something like this, it's completely appropriate. And it's just great seeing that star power in there. Also, I can't think of the actor's name, but he plays the roommate in Shaun of the Dead. Who turns into
Nick Frost?
Not Nick Frost.
No, the other roommate.
Yeah,
yes, the one who turns in. Yeah,
that guy.
The douchebag roommate.
He plays the king, Daniel Radcliffe's father.
Oh, I can see that.
And he just has a guy who walks around with skulls, and he just crushes skulls for fun. So there's actually a guy with a bag of skulls that just follows him around. So if you ever need a skull, there's just like a bunch of skulls right there. Again, I suck with actors' names, but from Deadpool, the taxi driver, who is also in Other Space.
Dev Patel?
No, it's not Dev Patel. It's
that's a different actor.
Yeah, it's a different guy.
But anyways, he plays kind of like the Machiavelli of this universe, where he understands kind of modern sensibilities and where the main characters are coming from, but he's also like, I was poor and I kind of like weaseled my way up to like the right hand of the king, so I'm not going to screw that up. You guys can go like be good and like have a conscience and stuff. I'm fine right here.
So that
Karan Soni is the cabbie from.
Oh yeah, I guess I have all the links here because of our awesome power ranking spreadsheet.
So that one sits at number 63 on the list. Which ranks it above Hollywood and The Politician so far. So far, Kyle, you have you are most in sync with our internet listeners.
I am the winner.
Well, not our listeners, I guess the random people that we're using to judge the power rankings.
Yeah, that's true.
Les, you're number 8.
My number 8 is not on any of y'all's, I don't think. Motherland Fort Salem. So as all of the CW shows got caught short and canceled, or not canceled, but stopped a couple episodes short of their finales, and everything kind of dried up on my actual weekly watching stuff. Because like you said, there's tons of stuff coming out, but it's all Netflix, Hulu type stuff, and it frequently drops 3 episodes at a time or a whole season at a time. Motherland was the thing that I could like wake up on a Wednesday or whenever the fuck it came out, and watch it and go, oh shit, there's a new episode on Hulu. And this show really caught me off guard. It's from the creator of Claws, and obviously what the guy who made Claws, a show about drug dealing nail salon owners in Florida, what he would do next was obviously a huge sweeping historical rewrite whereby witches are real and the Salem witch trials were ended by all witches in America conscripting all their descendants to be an extra branch of the military.
Yes, obviously. Where else would you go?
And so we follow 3 cadets through basically boot camp or West Point or whatever, and they're being trained up to be in this witch army. And the way they handle the spell work, all of it just was creepier and better done than I expected. I mean, I'm not saying it's
the
Sabrina.
Singing and stuff was pretty wild.
Yeah. I was really their bad guys are very bad, but also have an understandable motive.
Yeah.
If they just go about it in a way that you can't agree with until it gets further in the season, and they start to make clear that like one person conscripted every witch's descendant. Like I was really shocked. The whole season just built up better than I expected, and by the end of it I was like, oh. So I hope this has another season. I haven't even checked. I don't want to find out.
Well, and also,
I don't know when they'll get to film it, but
also, Chilling Adventures of Sabrina is getting one last season on Netflix, and then it's done. So this may be a good place for Sabrina people to jump off onto, because it's got a similar vibe.
it's also got a really cool intro that does like a whole stitched quilt history flag thing of the witches, which is pretty neat. Anyway, Motherland Fort Salem's great.
On USA,
and then I had the grade at number 7.
Is that USA Network? Is that where Motherland is?
No, I believe they're on Freeform. Not
Freeform.
CW.
Right, that's right. And so that one ranks second to last on all of our lists at number 75. My number 8 is Star Trek Picard over on CBS All Access. I really loved this. I don't know if overall I think Discovery probably has its hooks in me a little stronger, but I thought Picard was everything I wanted it to be. Like it brought back some of the nostalgic buttons of Next Generation. It had a really good cast. It brought in sort of the renegade aspect I like from something like Firefly. It was also like exploring the Borg and some of the interesting stuff from Next Generation that I liked. And I think even if you weren't necessarily a Star Trek like fan and weren't looking at the nostalgic aspect of it, the notion of sort of this sort of admiral who was well respected suddenly now having to find up these scrappy do-gooders to deal with the rise of an artificial intelligence is just a good sci-fi plot. It wasn't perfect, but I thought they did a pretty great job. And as with all the CBS All Access shows, it looked expensive. And that is ranked number 46 on our list.
Yeah, I also really loved just watching that one episodically.
Yeah.
Like kind of the week-to-week nature. Because we talk about a lot of these shows are binge shows, but that was one where, no, it felt good to kind of pace it out.
Yeah, I agree. My number 7 is Marvelous Mrs. Maisel over on Prime. I think it's the only Amazon Prime show on anybody's top 10 list. Which I've liked this show, but it never. Every time it comes back, I'm like, I guess that's good. I mean, I know it's well regarded, but I don't know if I care. And then every time I start watching it, I fall in love with it and watch the whole thing in like 2 days, and I forget how much I love this show. And this was no exception.
Yeah.
Seeing her comedy career develop more, seeing her go on like the USO thing, and just like the way they bring in Jane Lynch's character and the stuff with her manager and the stuff with her ex-husband and him opening a club, and there's just like, and the stuff with her parents, Tony Shalhoub, and just it's a really good show with a deep bench of characters that just gets more and more interesting the more I watch it, and I'm always stunned by it, and I'm always surprised that this makes my top 10, because if you were to ask me while I wasn't thinking about it, like, hey, do you really like Miss Marvelous Maisel? I'd be like, yeah, it's good. It's a good show. It would never be top 10 for sure. Watch it all. But every time I think about it and I watch it, it gets that place. It lands at number 17 according to the internet, which is not surprising. It's got pretty good reviews.
The art direction of that show, especially this year doing Old Vegas and some of the travel stuff.
Oh, man.
You mentioned the USO show, but they did some fantastic stuff.
So this is interesting. I'm going to go ahead and hit my number 6 because, Kyle, you and I have the same exact number 6.
Oh, yeah.
And Les has already done his number 7. So we'll go number 6 and back, and then you can do your 6 and 7. So the number 6 for my list and on Kyle's list is Never Have I Ever over on Netflix. That's Mindy Kaling's show about a Indian American girl growing up in California with her mom as her dad has passed away. This was
John McEnroe
narrating, except for one episode. This was a surprise and lots of fun.
Yeah, and I think we already talked about like how this suffered from one of those like super confusing titles.
Yes,
in a sea of like shows where it's like, God help you to find this. When you do find it, it's weird because I feel like a lot of the tones of the show I haven't seen a TV show in years. Like in terms of the jokes kind of hitting really consistent, but like also not just jokes for jokes' sake. Like the characters build each episodes. Like even some of the characters that in other sitcoms would be just kind of like a one note character, like what is it, her cousin who's like kind of waiting for an arranged marriage, how that all plays out towards the end of the season. Like she gets a fully developed arc. Definitely the parents get a fully developed arc. Actually, I don't think there's a character we see in the show who we don't get to like dive into.
Yeah.
Even the hot guy's little sister gets an arc.
Yeah,
like,
for sure. Yeah.
But at the same time, all of this is being driven by like really fantastic comedy that like gets raunchy at times without like going overboard because again these are teenagers, but like takes it to the edge.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really dug this so much. It was so good.
You know, the internet dug this too. It's actually number 15 on our list, which is pretty good. You're right, though. It needs a new title. Like, it needs a better title. And I'm not sure what that title would be, but it's not very descriptive at all.
I wonder if it would be better if they had just called it Never. And then the subtitle was, Have I Ever,
Oh, man, I don't know. That's even potentially more confusing, though.
That's true.
I feel like it doesn't talk about the subject matter.
There's no winners.
Yeah, there's no subject. It doesn't talk about the subject matter at all. So, it works. You can find it. It's on Netflix. Les, what's your number 6?
My number 6 was a surprise to me. Mrs. America.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want to watch this show off the ads for it. I thought the entire show was going to just be about Phyllis Schlafly.
Yeah, same.
Played by Cate Blanchett. And though she is a principal character that threads, like she's like the rap story to tie this anthology together, basically. Yeah. And it is her push for the fighting the ERA that does that's the general plot thrust of the show. But I figured I would just be yelling at my screen and angry the entire time.
Same.
And I was shocked that this is A, so well done, B, incredible. I mean, it's well acted, it's well put together, period costuming and all of that stuff is fantastic. The way they thread together this much history is really great, and it's a lot of in-depth dramatizations on each episode is an individual person in this kind of movement in time, this women's rights movement in the 60s, 70s.
Mm-hmm.
And so I saw a lot of political history for the U.S. that I knew, and a lot of just like toe in the water stuff of like, I know of that. I don't know the detail. Like now I'm seeing way behind the scene, or like you realize something happening in the background is the only bit of this story you know.
It gives context. It gives a different context. Like when I watch
a lot of context.
When I watched People vs. OJ, it was the same thing. Like I lived through some of this and I know it, but seeing the context.
I thought I knew this, but I didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so I was stunned. I loved this show, and I binged through it really quickly. But then I also went on a tear of watching a couple of documentaries about that same time period. I watched the Shirley Chisholm Unbossed and Unbought about her 72 campaign, which was great. I watched about McGovern's campaign. This show inspired me to watch more stuff about it, like documentaries, and not every historical dramatization show does that to me.
Right.
A lot of times they just confuse history or conflate things, but they don't prompt you to want to go find out more. I felt like the show stayed very accurate, told a very human story, and prompted me to want to go learn.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Friggin' amazing. And I didn't break my TV. I really thought it was going to take some
also,
based on the trailer.
Number 13 on the power rankings, so got some internet buzz too.
I like that.
Kyle, we know what your number 6 was, same as me. What was your number 7?
Yeah, so kind of sticking in the theme of learning and going down the documentary rabbit hole. Although I guess I didn't really see any other documentaries after watching this. It was just so captivating. I wanted to know more about the story. It's McMillions, which had me glued week to week. I know, Randy, you waited and kind of caught up on it all together at the end.
And was glad I did.
Yeah, because this story is just so bizarre. And why
nuts.
I feel comfortable putting something like this on my top 10 in place of something like Tiger King, which I feel like is just as crazy of a story. This is a story about like the victims.
Yeah.
How like anybody involved in the scam, nobody won.
Yeah.
Like, the biggest loser was us, the people who, thought we had a chance to win. But it really focuses on the victims and like kind of the weirdos who were, behind this operation to catch these guys. Guys, so good. And I love that title card sequence, all the motion graphics and stuff, the printing of the tickets. It's just a really sharp show.
Yeah, HBO's been on with documentaries lately. This was a good one. And ranks number 55 on the internet's power rankings.
Yeah, like right there in the middle.
So, also on HBO is your number 5.
Yeah, keeping the knowledge coming. This has become like my new Better Call Saul. That show that like is just making it on my list every year because it's the first thing I go to every time I hit the DVR, and that's Last Week Tonight with John Oliver. And I got to say, the thing that he really did this year that blew me away is when everybody started doing their late night show from home, wearing slacks with their kids climbing on their shoulders and stuff. He shows up in his suit at his house like, oh no, we're gonna do the exact same show, just literally, at my house.
Yep.
And it helps that he lives in a pasty void.
in the clear white void,
and also has that white studio.
But even more so than like kind of the production design that changed like hardly one iota, whereas everybody else went completely to like filming on their iPhones. Not only did the production design do, he figured out a way to deliver his comedy that still hits just as hard without needing any laughs behind it.
Yeah.
The self-deprecating stuff is like even funnier, and then his outrageous kind of like rabbit hole stuff with like the rat erotica and the woman who paints her husband's
Adam Driver.
ties. Oh yeah, Adam Driver.
Man.
Please don't get mad at us, Adam Driver.
The rat erotica, the running rat erotica thing where he bought the painting and keeps I think the thing that makes John Oliver really sing is that he
bought one of the tie paintings.
He is so gleeful when he gets to do something, and that joy of I can't believe they're paying me for this. And also that they're putting good out into the world. Like they funded the Marble League, which is the show we're going to talk about, because it was bringing joy to people, and they're using it to give money to food banks. Like he is basically turning HBO into a partial charity, which I love.
Yeah. I when I saw this on your list, and I couldn't believe I didn't put it on mine, and I think it's because in my brain it's not even a TV show. It's like one of those sticks in the picture that goes in the meme that goes around where like the whole skyscraper's falling down and there's like 3 2x4s that are holding the building up, and it's usually branded with stuff like the U.S. COVID $1,200, shit like that. That's how I feel about like Society John Oliver.
Yeah.
This one stick just holding up the fucking building
John
while
Oliver,
I just whistle and walk under it.
No lie, it was the foundation of my list. Like, it was I took that show and I said, all right, this is better than that. This is not better than that. Like, I literally built it out from 5.
Well, and this is one of our 3 shows that are in the top 10 power rankings. This is number 10 on our power rankings. So the internet also loves John Oliver, partly probably because he puts all his shit for free on YouTube, or a lot of it, which is a public service to all of us.
Probably
Indeed.
where a lot of people catch it, yeah.
I believe it is.
Your number 5 is also Kyle's number 3 and my number 4. And the internet's number 50.
5, 4, 3.
And the internet's number 53.
Oh,
Hi,
way
I'm
too
Dave.
low on the list.
Who's Dave?
Who's Dave? Well, Dave is Dave Bird, also known as Little Dicky, who apparently is one of the funniest motherfuckers on the planet because he managed to make a sitcom with Jeff Sheffer from The League and Seinfeld writing history, and it's just amazing. It is hysterically funny and heartfelt in some truly surprising ways. I was absolutely I like Little Dicky before because I like rap and I like joke rap, and he's both. I'm sure slightly irritated to be both still, but whatever. He's funny as shit. I was stunned. I knew I was going to enjoy this show because I still go back and watch the Meth and Red show, but this is so good. And I was so glad it made y'all's list too.
Yeah, well, as it goes on, like it started out good. Like I liked it, but every episode it just builds. And then we get to that episode with God, what's his name? The mental illness stuff.
With Gata.
Gata. yeah, Gaeta's like mental illness stuff, and then we started getting more and more of that, like seeing that there was something deeper to all these characters, and yeah, by the end I was just completely in love with it, and yeah, it's just stunning. I mean, it sits alongside stuff like Louis, before we knew Louis was terrible, and Atlanta, and just like stuff that is smart and funny and poignant and has all these gears, and it's just it's unlike anything else on television. Like it honestly, it belongs.
If you told me it was going to approach Atlanta, I knew I was going to like it, but if you told me it was going to approach Atlanta, I'd have been like, we'll see. And we did see. It is very good.
It belongs in our top.
Is killing it.
It belongs in our top 5. No, it's FX too. It's like FX. Which,
it's FX. It's FX.
It's on Hulu, but it's FX.
What I compare it to Wilfred, but I think I liked Wilfred a lot more than the average person. But this is like, if you
I can see that comparison though.
That can get as raunchy as The League. At times where you get that level of comedy, but then, like you said, switches gears and then can get like, I felt like Wilfred had some serious moments that they balance with comedy. That's kind of where, I don't know if it goes full Atlanta for me, or full Louis, but it definitely takes the drama Atlanta, much higher for a show that has that level of comedy.
Yeah, I get that.
I was just thinking about the milking table callback.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so good.
All right, so my number 5 spoils Kyle's number 1, so I'm going to hold on to it.
That's nice of you.
We'll get there when we get there. My number 4, as noted, was Dave. So let's talk about your number 4.
My number 4 is Doom Patrol, which is really, like, I don't have very many on here that are not complete with their current season.
Right.
Doom Patrol I put on here because in a different way than Zoe's or Motherland or whatever, every single episode I can't believe this got made.
Yeah.
I can't believe it's on my fucking TV. and it's not like it's whole cloth out of nowhere. They really did a great adaptation of what I would have thought is a classically unadaptable source material. Mm-hmm. The way that Doom Patrol is written is so fucked up, and the Milligan, the Morrison, is it Morrison?
Morrison, yeah,
stuff that they're pulling from is just, it's very Grant Morrison. Mm-hmm. And they're doing it. I mean, they're doing it. And season 2 it didn't rein it in at all.
It's better. It's wilder.
Continued to go nuts. It's even wilder now that they've got all of these pieces out on the board. It's so fucking nuts.
And you know what saves it from being bad? Because shows can be nuts like this and still not be good, but it's interesting too. Like, it's all that crazy, like, batshit, like, off the wall stuff.
Yeah,
but
if it were just nuttiness,
like, it really catches your attention.
Yeah, if it were just weirdness for the sake of weird, but like, I like the ideas they're playing with, like what the chief has done to them and how they're handling it, and the realness of the familial relationships. The fact that they spent the whole first season becoming a superhero team against their wishes, basically. Mm-hmm. And that they don't start season 2 some badass Avengers that have now assembled. It's still just a clusterfuck, and they're not trying to save the world. They're just trying to survive it. And I love this show.
So this one sits at number 29, which, by the way, is not bad. I mean, I feel like it should be higher, but it sits at number 29.
It's technically tied with Evil for 28.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
We have a couple of those discrepancies in there that we didn't know. But I think I'm going to export. Do you think it'd be possible to post this with our show this week, to kind of the ranking list as it is?
I think that'd be a good idea. I think we should figure out a way to do that. So, Kyle, your number 4 is also, I gotta say, HBO Max. I don't think any of us were super impressed by it. We talked about it now, about their launch has kind of been staggered. The not being on Roku is a huge mistake.
Amazon Fire.
That they don't have they weren't like a huge launch, and yet 2 of their originals are on our top 10 lists, because number 4 is also an HBO Max show.
Interesting. It's like they knew the numbers. They were like, "Talk shit. We know we got you."
That's right. They're like Quibi. They're like, "We know what we're doing."
Print off my emails.
So, Kyle, your number 4 show?
Yeah, my number 4 is Love Life on HBO Max, starring Anna Kendrick and a crazy cast of amazing supporting characters who, by the end of the season, it's another one like Never Have I Ever, where everybody gets an arc.
Yeah.
Specifically, I think my favorite supporting character arc is Sarah Yang.
She's great, yeah.
Yeah, who we don't realize till, sorry, little spoilers, but we don't realize till later in the season that they have been kind of hinting towards her being an alcoholic in every episode. Mm-hmm. But the story takes place throughout the course of Anna Kendrick's life, so when you're younger, that type of behavior seems normal. It's not until you get older that it starts to become more suspect, and the show really got me thinking about friends that I've had, relationships that I've had. I found myself getting kind of some of those tear-jerk moments, like with that show Modern Love over on Amazon that we watched at the end of last year.
You're the romantic of the TV dudes, Kyle.
Yeah, this just gave me all the feels. Watched it with my lady, cuddled up on the couch. It was good. It was good. You got to give it a shot if you haven't seen it.
And the internet thinks it's ranks number 72.
Oh, that's low. That's low.
So your number 3 is Dave, and my number 3 and Les's number 3 is the same, and that is High Fidelity over on Hulu. This was just a perfect reimagination of a classic book and a classic movie. Like, there's no way 3 versions of the same story should all be this good. But it really works. Gender flipping it, making it a lot more diverse in terms of race, moving it from Chicago. Didn't they move it from, or is it still in Chicago? No, they moved it, right?
No, they moved it.
Yeah,
it's New York.
Moving
this time.
It from Chicago
and
to New York.
The book's London.
Yeah, so they moved it again. They like every one of them. They figured out like, here's the story. Here's how we adapt it to fit this format. So the
changes work.
It just really
the nods work.
Yeah,
the call, like all of it. They do homage on top of radical change, and it's somehow they dance right on the line of it the whole time. It fucking flawless. I loved this adaptation.
Yeah, and Zoe Kravitz.
Victory.
Zoe Kravitz.
And Zoe Kravitz.
Just
damn.
Anchors it beautifully. Like, she's so good.
I am dying for a season 2 because they did not give me the Barry Jive and the Uptown 5.
Yeah.
I did not get to see you as a Charisse.
Yes. I want that moment. I'm so ready for season 2.
I want that. She got her guitar. I want it. All right.
So
they've done such a departure with this story. They could go in any direction they want with this and just let it ride.
So we this ranks number 39 on the power rankings, so much higher for us. And then let's talk number 2, because my number 2 spoils Les's number 1. And Kyle, let's hear your number 2.
Yeah. So my number 2 is also the internet's number 1. We are number 1. That is The Man Who Can't Lose, Michael Jordan, The Last Dance, the ESPN Netflix collaboration. Gosh, this was my time when I was a kid, guys, watching these Bulls. Oh man, this show gave me all sorts of feelings, and it was intense. I could not quit thinking about this show in between episodes. I would just go to bed, my mind like rushing a million miles an hour. And I don't know, have you guys ever seen the documentary Senna?
No.
No, but I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, Senna, the
racing documentary?
Yeah, it's a documentary about a racing driver. He's one of the last Formula One drivers ever to be killed in the sport, and his death spawned a lot of changes.
Used to kill them?
At the end of every race, they would just line him up.
Yeah.
Good night.
You blew a tire. You just take him. It's just the car, though. Bam.
Good night, Wesley. Good race. Almost like to kill you at the end.
I'm just injured. No, I ain't good enough. But no, what they did is they were able to tell a story that you don't have to know anything about racing to understand, oh, good guy, bad guy, they're on the same team, okay, now he's on a different team. And they really made it more like an Avengers type movie where you're like, oh no, I know who the characters are, and they're not fighting, they're racing these cars, and we're going to see who wins. And that's what they do with that whole, 96 Bulls story kind of leading up. The way that they show players moving from different teams, where you're pretty much introduced to a player as either like an adversary or an ally of Michael Jordan. And then by the time you get to the final episodes, things have flipped. And stuff that, he may have said or done, years ago is coming back to bite him in the ass in this, one game that means this. They did a really good job with it. It is moving stuff. The internet loves it. I don't have to convince anybody to watch this. It sounds like everybody already is.
Yeah. All right, Les, let's hear your number 2.
Phrasing. All right. So my number 2 is Future Man. Actually, that fits for the writing of that show.
Yeah.
That's a unused joke from the show, I believe. Future Man, it finished up its 3rd season. I think they're going to do... I don't know if they're going to do another one.
I think this was the end, right? It had to be the end.
This was the end. Yes, no, this was the end because they did the whole true story thing.
Yeah.
Fuck,
Yes.
that's right.
Oh,
that's
man,
right.
So good.
So I loved this. This show caught me off guard when it first dropped. Like, I binged through the whole thing and was like, my God, Hulu, where did you come up with this? Because I don't think Hulu done anything shockingly good for up to that point, really. This was the first Hulu original that blew me away, I think. And then season 2 I still loved. I know it fell off for some folks and got convoluted, but and they got a little lost in the wheel making,
right.
all of that shit. But overall, this has been 3 seasons of just bug shit craziness. Well acted. I love. Oh my God, Corey Wolfhart is one of my favorite characters that has ever graced television. It's just spectacular. This show just gets me.
Talk about shows that scratch that sweet spot for The League and Always Sunny. This was right up there with those. Although I feel like it did have kind of a dip in quality in season 2, but they definitely returned to form in season 3. And season 1 is just one of those flawless seasons of TV where every episode is just hitting 100%.
Oh my God, I may have to go back and rewatch season 1 just for what Wolf does when lost in time and his whole taking over the fucking 80s.
All right, it's time for the number 1 picks. So, Kyle.
Oh, yeah, because we skipped your number 2, Randy.
Your number 1 is my number 5, and it is
Real Rob.
It's number 7 on the internet's list. No, less. That's the number 1 forever. Real Rob. It's the TV dude's favorite show of all time.
Number 1 in our hearts.
Number 1 in our hearts. So my number 5, the internet's number 7. Kyle's number 1 is
What We Do in the Shadows.
Such a good second season,
dude. Talk about taking it to the next level. For starters, they had the most amazing season 1 cliffhanger where it's you knew instantly what season 2 was going to be about and you were on board for it, which was the whole revelation of Guillermo's hidden abilities and his lineage. The fact that he's been dressed like Van Helsing in every single episode and you didn't realize it. That was the funniest part of that. But yeah, going into season 2 where we get to see more facets of the kind of the underworld of Staten Island, the shadow world, more Laszlo,
the Jackie Daytona episode.
Character. Yes. And I feel like the season finale where they didn't leave off. They didn't have anything as good as the reveal with Guillermo,
right?
But just in terms of episodes that season, it had one of the number of laughs per minute. Had some of the highest laugh counts for me.
Oh yeah,
of the whole season, and the stuff with the internet troll was just it had me dying laughing into the credits.
Yeah, it's really great. Les, your number 1 is my number 2 show, and the internet's number 11 show.
The Good Place finished so well.
Yeah.
I mean, We laughed, we cried.
Get a tissue, Les. Dang.
I did. I had to get a bunch of them.
I've watched that finale like in pandemic times. I've watched that finale no kidding like 5 times. When I just kind of need to feel good and have a cry, I'll watch that finale.
Yeah, here soon I may have to restart the whole show. It is just fucking fantastic. I mean, it went every episode of just let's not worry about whether we're moving through plot too fast. Let's just keep going.
Yeah.
Let's just do the next Wilder thing. And even when I thought, they're going to meander or something, I like where they ended up going with it. I mean, when we were covering it as it was airing, there were weeks of like, how are we feeling about them being back on Earth? How are we feeling about them being here or there or where or whichever plane of existence? And it was really difficult to judge whether is this as funny as it was a few weeks ago, like a observational Einstein thought experiment. I can't tell from within the system here.
Right.
Looking back on it, and this may just be the strength of the finale still, but it feels like a complete package, and I can't find a shitty part of this Fabergé
Right.
egg.
Well, even some people
It's not like Parks and Rec has a crap first season I don't like.
Yeah, well, some people...
I don't like Bragdanovich or whatever the shit his name is.
Some people had problems with like some of the stuff on Earth and felt that got a little slow. But even that gave us like the Jeremy Bearimy stuff. Like
exactly. Like I can't get mad at any of it. It gave me the time knife.
Yeah. All right, my number one show, and this is a show that I discovered late, was Letterkenny over on Hulu. This is also the lowest ranked show on our power rankings at 87.
People have broken glass for souls.
Letterkenny, I'll grant that I think Les, this wound up in your honorable mention just because it was a weaker season. It is not as good as like the early seasons, but it's still funny as hell, very clever.
It's amazing.
Yeah,
I felt like this season they got a little bit of money and they went for some hockey in jokes that ran longer form and cracked them up.
Yeah.
That didn't hit me the same.
I get that.
Where I was like, I'm not mad at y'all because what y'all spent your money on is the Pickers guys and shit. Like it's just so weird.
Yeah.
But like where they flex their money is so funny. But
the place on our list
it didn't grab me quite the same.
Yeah, where it's at on our list so low, just it tells me that even 8 seasons in or 9 seasons, whatever it's at, like it hasn't really caught on in America yet.
It's going to be cult forever.
It is going to be cult forever.
Cult forever.
At this point.
I hope not, because I feel like it's at the precipice. Like
so, I wanted to put Letterkenny on my top 10, but I made it an honorable mention because I knew I was putting it on there not that this season was bad, but this season alone, if this were the only season of Letterkenny, wouldn't hit my top 10 show.
That's fair.
It's great.
That's fair.
But it wouldn't be in my top 10. Letterkenny, all told, easily in my top 5.
Yeah.
I love this shit. It's one of the things of like, what do you want to watch? I don't know, nothing. Something about 30 minutes long. Letterkenny? Cool.
Yeah, and that's the thing.
Like Letterkenny, Parks and Rec, or Schitt's Creek. Which do you want to throw on? I don't know. We've seen all of them a million times.
I put my thumb on the scale. By the way, Schitt's Creek is a show that I haven't seen yet, and we need to at some point do a TV Dudes flashback and go and catch up on it because I need to catch that.
I've not seen the most recent season because I've been watching it on Netflix, but it's fantastic.
So I put my thumb on the scale for Letterkenny a little bit because I kind of discovered it all at the same time. And in my mind, all of Letterkenny is my number one, which is the only reason it ranks above The Good Place, which is going to be one of my all-time favorite shows. So I was like, this probably could be a little lower, but this was like the Letterkenny year for me. This is when I really discovered it.
If somebody's listening and they haven't discovered Letterkenny yet, the best way to describe it is it's one of those shows that after you watch an episode, you just want to quote everything you just heard to a friend. You're like, I just want to find anybody who's watched this and just repeat everything I just heard.
Oh, I have friends.
It's like
and rewatch it with subtitles and Google half of it. And
I have friends on Facebook that's like, they'll post something that is a Letterkenny reference, and then the thread is full of GIFs. Like they own the GIF game, and I'm like, it's like that key thing. It's like the moment where like if you meet someone and you throw a Letterkenny quote at them and they throw it back, you're like, did we just become best friends? It's a code.
And everybody who loves Letterkenny at some point during a business Zoom meeting has had someone else say, to be fair, and like I'm so glad I was on mute the other day because before I realized what I had done, I'm in a group meeting and somebody went, well, to be fair, and I went, to be fair.
Oh, I was going to point that out. That has been like how Letterkenny has kind of seeped into Corona.
So let's talk honorable mentions real quick. We mentioned Letterkenny was one of yours, and Brooklyn Nine-Nine, Les. On mine is a couple discoveries of shows that you were ahead of me on because you watched more of the CBS stuff. But the CBS show and the CBS All Access show, The Good Fight, which I finally burned through seasons 3 and a little bit of 4, and I'm absolutely in love with. And from the same show creators, Evil, which is like instead of lawyers, it's Satan. But it's a similar tone. They both have great casts. They both have really good writing.
The Exorcist Files.
And I'm super digging both those shows. And honestly, it's one of those things where it's like, we got CBS All Access for the Star Trek stuff, and this is the kind of stuff that's going to keep it around. But I know there's also another CBS All Access show that is on Kyle's honorable mentions list.
Yeah, and that's
what you gonna be.
The Unicorn, which I kind of put up there with Perfect Harmony. Because, one, these would probably not make it anywhere close to my top 10 if I really ranked the 100 shows that we watched.
Right.
But this is like the closest I've gotten to that NBC Thursdays with the 30 Rock, Parks and Rec, Community, Office.
Right.
Like that block of shows where, consistently I can show up like with characters I like, stories that are, like keep me interested, and jokes that are entertaining. There's some miss weeks, and it's definitely not as good as any of those shows I just mentioned. But I'd be lying if I didn't say those were like some of the first things I watched on my DVR this year.
Yeah.
Every time I get on there.
Those
two shows.
Those rank up there with Zoe's, which made Les's list. Like, you put Unicorn, Perfect Harmony, and Zoe's all on the same night. That's a perfect night of comedy for me. Like that's high rank. Mm-hmm. And it's not on my
Perfect Harmony could have swapped out for Zoe's almost.
And it's not on my technical honorable mentions list, but I'm a double cheat because this also makes me think I want to mention Stumptown, which is it's not a great show, but it's a good show that is always like it's when it pops up on the list, I'm like, oh, want to watch that now. I
look forward to it every week. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I had an older show in mind that just happened to drop on Amazon, and so we had talked about it. Hustle. Which I people can go and hear me geek out about this various places on the internet. It is it's leverage without morals. It's they're just con artists in London, and I fucking love it. It's there's like 8. I mean, that's 8 British seasons, so that's like 1 network season. but there's like 8 seasons of, I don't know, 6 to 8-ish episodes each, and they're each just super fun. Go check it out on Prime, everybody.
All right, so it wouldn't be the power rankings if we didn't have a little bit of numbers crunching here. So, do you guys have a guess for which network is highest, has the most shows in our top? It's actually like a 23 because we had some crossover.
Ooh, I have a guess, but I also look at these every week, so I think I might be picking up on that column.
What's your guess, Les or Kyle?
My guess is Netflix, just because I feel like that they have the shows that like people talk about and people want to like hear.
So
about.
On our list of our like the top 23 or 24 that we just ran down, Netflix and FX are tied at number 3 among the networks.
Oh, really?
Les, you have a guess for number 1?
I think we technically have a lot of stuff spread around some real, actual NBC type network and FX type networks, and so it's throwing off what I gut feel is the rank of the streaming services. I'm going to say HBO Max is number 2.
HBO and HBO Max together are number 2. Yes, because there are 4 shows that are from HBO and HBO Max.
I know this.
Is Hulu and FX one thing?
No, Hulu and FX are broken out separately.
But
okay, all right.
We do watch everything on Hulu.
Yeah, Hulu.
I'm going to say CBS All Access is number 1.
Hulu has 7 shows. Now, some of those are Hulu originals, a couple of them are, but a lot of them are Hulu originals, like Future Man, High Fidelity. Mm-hmm. There was at least one other that is like a Hulu original. So they've built up their the Great.
Yeah.
So 3 of those are actually
Mrs. America is on Hulu as well.
But that's an FX.
Yeah.
Although
that's FX.
So if you
The Great was original.
If you take out all the network stuff we watch on Hulu ranks Netflix and Hulu are basically tied. Because they each have 3 originals. That's a pretty good ranking for a network a streaming network we were all kind of making fun of a few years ago. Like they have definitely,
but
they've definitely come along.
Disney pushed their stake up even further, and I don't know, Hulu's quietly gotten better.
Yeah. So it goes Hulu, HBO, FX, which you could technically put in with Hulu, and then it just pushes their lead ahead, and Netflix gets a solid number 3. And then everything else just have 1 vote each. Prime, All Access, Freeform, ESPN, TBS, and DC app.
I feel like Prime is the villain team in any college comedy or whatever, where they've got like all the money in the world and they make the biggest sailboat and then it sinks and they're like, why? I don't know, Preston. Why?
Yeah. We gotta save the U.S. Mrs. Maisel.
Thad.
Hulu is the slob.
I don't know, Thad.
Hulu is the slobs. Prime is the snobs, and FX or HBO and Netflix are the punks. All right, that is our rundown of our top 10 for 2020 so far. And
well, technically, we've only talked about 99 shows for the year.
It's true. So let's,
including everything we just mentioned, that still falls into the 99.
So let's take a quick music break, and then we'll talk about our number 100 show. And we're back. And the show that breaks our 100th show that we watched is a YouTube show sponsored by John Oliver. And it's a sports show, sort of. And that show is Marble League.
The sport of physics and color combinations.
So, guys, I did not watch any of Marble League. Even when John Oliver posted about it, I didn't watch any of it. And then, this week when we were going to do it, I watched only the John Oliver season, the 2020 season. So I've seen the first 5 events. And
same. I watched those 5 events plus some of the older races.
Did you guys catch any sand races? I think that might have been right before the John Oliver ones.
I don't think I did. So
slightly different format, but just you get the gist.
So this looks like the work of a madman. The amount of work that goes into constructing the Lego sets and the
stop motion movement of the crowd,
the marbles in the stands, the hiding a marble that you have to find.
Where's Waldo?
Yes, like the personalities he's come up with for like 20 different marble teams. Like
not just the teams, they have names.
They have names.
Yep,
their individual marbles have names.
Yeah, I have a feeling that this dude knows what the favorite food is of each marble in these marble teams. Like,
I love it.
I have a feeling that this guy is a virgin.
I don't follow any sports, and so this was just as difficult for me to follow as any of the other sports I don't fucking understand.
That was actually gonna be a gripe I had. Is that like I feel like you're doing these events and you don't like tell us like what am I supposed to be rooting for here? And sometimes you can figure out, and sometimes you can't. But honestly, that's true to sports because like if you turn on a baseball game, they don't explain to you, okay, well, you're going to get 3 outs, and if you don't get those 3 outs, like, they don't do the intro thing that, like, a game show would do. So it's like, it's true to the format.
John Oliver should have put together a junior high gym class, this is how marbles work.
Oh, my God, that would have been amazing.
Video about how the funnels work and about what the challenges are, because I had an issue when I sat down to watch these, and I watched all of the John Oliver seasons so far, and then went back and watched some races, because I was a little irritated that so far in the John Oliver season, there really aren't that many races.
No.
And I wanted marble races. And, like, I think it's cool that they have all these other competitions, and I watched them, and I got weirdly into it. But I still... it is confusing when you hit... I don't really understand YouTube, and you kids should get off my lawn. And I found the channel, and I hit play, and I just let it play. I let it autoplay whatever the next marble video was. Consequently, I went way out of order on the events, and I don't really understand what I watched. In terms of an ongoing competition, I wish it had been structured more to walk me through it. Because I feel like I watched a whole season of football out of order without understanding who would be in the championship. And a couple of these games were from the 70s. Like,
well, I think the way that he does his show is that he sets his cameras up, he drops marbles, and then after the fact, he writes all that stuff. And then the final thing he does is his great graphic system that his whole setup looks just like the Olympics. Like even the way that he sets up like his different events. But you know what this show is, guys? this is straight up ASMR. This is meant to be listened to and to be watched, to be lulled into this relaxing state. Watching.
I was doing stuff in the background with just marble,
hearing the crowd.
The crowd noise is amazing. Like, he found, not only does he do background crowd noise, but he has them react when, like, one of them makes the best high jump. The crowd goes wild.
Section goes fucking nuts.
They do the wave and.
It's so
Did you see
crazy.
the one where they threw like trash at the stage? Like some fans
No,
got.
I didn't see that.
Yeah, it's like the officials are out there. Oh, that looks like they're doing. And he like did a little stop motion animation where these marbles are like jumping out of the seats and they're like throwing what looks like little tiny pieces of orange peel, at the stands. And it's like, oh, we got to clean this up, guys. What's going? This is a mess. I haven't seen anything like this in my years of marble commentating.
So the various events, like there's balance. Where they've got to roll down like a narrow ruler, and like they talk about the team strategizing and shit. It's crazy.
Yes.
They've got trying to get through the funnels. You want to take as long as possible, and then there's also like a speed qualifier through the funnels, where you want to go as quickly as possible. There's
the half pipe.
The half pipe is nuts.
Another one you want to hang on as long as possible.
Newton's.
Oh yeah, the ones with
what are those balls called? The kinetic
I can't remember what it's called. Yeah. Newton's Cradle.
Yeah, Newton's Cradle.
And so that's an event. You've got the push, which amazed, like that stunned me, where they've got to like push a block forward and they're measuring all of it. Like there's a weird amount of events. The marble mechanisms to like carry them up to start the next race and like for the qualifiers. I went back and watched Marble E, some of the previous race and like track racing ones.
Oh, where they do it in the sand?
I can hear it.
So here's the thing. I am glad
the sand races look like RC Pro-Am. I love it.
I am glad that John Oliver.
The X Games of this.
I'm glad John Oliver decided to fund this, so that this man isn't out on the street talking to himself. Because I feel like
how much could this have cost? I mean, his time is probably the most expensive thing about it.
Well, and then also they're donating to food banks. Like when the marbles win a race, like each team has a food bank that's there. So when they win by random physics happenstance, their money gets donated to food banks. Like it is once again John Oliver using HBO's money to make the world a better place, which is just crazy.
There's also a fun nerd out to this of like, you can't help but ascribe motive to these things and like ascribe like, I mean, people bet on anything. Like people will bet on anything. It's dice or whatever. And so I found myself like, oh shit, like when something came around the curve at the wrong time, I'm like, they're marbles. Like it's not planning it. It's not trying to get down the curve, right? But you'll watch one and you're like, oh, that's gonna hurt you later, bud. And like,
real quick, do you guys have a marble team? Because I have a marble team.
I like the Minty Maniacs, just I like their name. And I feel like
that's it. You got to pick by name.
They're doing
or
well.
Marble color.
I do.
I'm about that crazy cat eye life.
Oh yeah, I do like the crazy guys. I also like Balls of Chaos.
Oh, they're good.
Yes,
I'm Hazers all all the way.
Oh, Hazers.
Yeah, there's also a Bumblebee team. I forget their name, but they're like
the Bumblebees.
Yellow.
the
Bumblebees.
Yeah,
yeah.
I like that team too.
I like the look of those.
Early on, I really liked Snowballs. They were crazy fast on a couple of the early qualifying events, like the balance, but they didn't make it. They were just terrible. They're like super fast. I don't know if
we sound like lunatics.
I don't even like sports. This is fucking stupid. They're marbles, for fuck's sake.
This ain't stupid. This is marbles.
This one's for
So did you guys watch the Pog Championships too?
No, definitely not.
No, I did go down the rabbit hole. There are several channels that are like kind of rip-offs of the... I mean, not rip... I don't know who did it first, but what people do is they take Matchbox cars and they push them down hills and they commentate as if they're watching a race. So it's kind of the same thing. And there is a lot of that.
Yeah. But...
Well, Jelle's Marble Runs is it's dumb to say that it's the best marble runs I've ever seen, but I really cannot imagine anyone doing this better. Like, I appreciate that YouTube is bound to have like a rabbit hole of knockoff marble races, but I don't give a fuck. I searched for Jelle's Marble Runs because the production quality of these is it's like watching someone make historical monuments out of matchsticks or something.
Yeah.
Like there's a weird there's a weird fetishness of just, I would go watch a museum. I would go look at a museum of this shit.
Well, you know what? The inevitable conclusion of a show like this is going to be a channel where it's just somebody who has all the coolest action figures you wanted as a kid, who's literally just playing with them on the play sets.
Yeah.
And it's like a close up, and he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna get you, Joker." No, you won't, Batman. I'm gonna get you. We're just watching people play with toys.
Yeah.
I mean, I watched Red versus Blue.
Oh yeah, I got kind of.
It was just dudes playing Halo and overdubbing voices.
Oh, I guess Robot Chicken is kind of what I just described.
Yeah, actually.
Although they had
we have devolved back into marbles.
They did have that Hulu show Crossing Swords, which we skipped because we heard bad things about it.
Oh yeah.
So it can go wrong. All right, well, guys, that's our show for this week. This is my favorite thing. I love doing top 10 lists and that kind of thing. So I had a great time. Hope you guys. Hope it was not too much teeth pulling for you though, Les.
Well,
No.
I also got to say thank you guys for letting me kind of hijack this year with this new TV Dudes experiment that's been the Power Rankings.
It's super
Power Rankings.
Yeah, just it's been a lot of fun putting it together and keeping up with it. You know, it's not as exciting as like the box office numbers or like when the Top Gear guys would watch somebody race a car around a track, but it's our numbers.
Also,
you know, it's our rankings.
Also, neither of those things are happening anymore. There's no box office and there's no racing. So
yeah, that's true.
We're in. Hope you like this entertainment.
But thank you guys as always. Thank you to our listeners. Thank you to our patrons. And
Thank you, Randy.
Until next week.
TV Dudes out.
The TV Dudes is an independently run podcast out of Austin, Texas. We are exclusively listener supported. If you'd like to help us out, go to patreon.com/tvdudes.
You can also find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at TV Dudes. All the music for our show is done by our friend and original TV Dude Gregory J. Amani Smith.
To find out more about us, go to thetvdudes.com. I'm Randy Lander.
I'm Les Weiler.
And I'm Kyle Scott.
Thanks for listening.